Welcome to the Spirit Soul Series podcast. We're back with another episode, and welcome to the Spirit Soul Series podcast. We're
All
back
right.
with another episode, and we have Supriya Chechi with us, and we are continuing with Bhagavad Gita. And we're going to discuss chapter 10, text 4-5, and please take it away, Supriya. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Yes, we are on verse 5, lengthy purport of chapter 10. And once we finish this, we need to stay alert because we are coming to a cluster of 4 verses which are called the Chatur Shloki. That is verses 8, 9, 10, 11 in this particular chapter. We can't jump forward. We are going to complete this and then move to 6 and 7, and then we start this 8, 9, 10, and 11. They are crucial because the Chatur Shloki, whether it is in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Bhagavatam, means the essence of the whole Gita is all summed up in these 4 verses. They are kind of considered extremely important. So let's continue with this purport. Charity, the quality of charity. Remember, Krishna has listed a whole lot of qualities which come from him, and good and bad. And as devotees, we are supposed to, as followers, as bhaktas, we are supposed to develop those qualities and follow the kind of instructions given in these purports. Okay, can you please read as far as charity is concerned?
Yeah. As far as charity is concerned, one should give 50% of his earning to some good cause. And what is a good cause? It is that which is conducted in terms of Krishna consciousness. That is not only a good cause, but the best cause. Because Krishna is good, his cause is also good. Thus, charity should be given to a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. According to the Vedic literature, it is enjoined that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. This practice is still followed, although not very nicely in terms of the Vedic injunction. But still, the injunction is that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. Why? Because they are engaged in higher cultivation of spiritual knowledge. A Brahmana is supposed to devote his whole life to understanding Brahman. Brahma Janatiti Brahmanaha.
Brahmana.
One who knows
Brahmana.
Brahman is called Brahmana. Thus, charity is offered to the Brahmanas because they are always engaged in higher spiritual service and have no time to earn their livelihood. In the Vedic literature, charity is also to be awarded to one in the renounced order of life, the sannyasi. The sannyasis beg from door to door not for money but for missionary purposes. The system is that they go from door to door to awaken the householders from the slumber of ignorance. Because the householders are engaged in family affairs and have forgotten their actual purpose in life, awakening their Krishna consciousness. It is a business of the sannyasis to go as beggars into the householders and encourage them to be Krishna conscious. As it is said in the Vedas, one should awake and achieve what is due him in this human form of life. This knowledge and method is distributed by the sannyasis. Hence, charity is to be given to the renouncer of life, to the brahmanas, and similar good causes, not to any whimsical cause.
Okay, so this definition of charity often puts Krishna devotees and ISKCON followers in a tight spot, because it is as if, well, it seems to suggest that we are not to actually get involved with philanthropic activities like simply helping the poor, the starving, just simply giving money to some beady smoking drunkard who is lying hungry and starved. Not so it puts us in stark contrast, and it makes it a moral dilemma for each one of us, even at a personal level. Should we get involved? Someone's approaching us for money, we have the money to give. Should we give it to that lady who's making so much effort to help the poor? She's going into flood ravaged places in Kerala, giving new beds, giving. But what are they doing? Those people are fully into eating non-vegetarian, smoking beedies, they're getting drunk, because that's their lifestyle. So should we get implicated in all that, or should we just turn away? And this is a tough dilemma, tough, but it doesn't mean we are supposed to become heartless, not at all. Because the idea in bhakti is that our heart becomes softer in bhakti yoga. So the solution that has been found, and which ISKCON strongly recommends, is that to the extent possible, if it is, get prasadam, or if that's not possible, get something, give a small picture of the Lord, or teach them to recite the Mahamantra along with the food you're giving. Otherwise, whatever food you're giving them, mix a little bit of some dry prasadam. Every temple sells little packets of dry prasadam. It may be murku, maybe nankatai, powder it, crush it. Even one drop is supposed to have the power. But that cannot be mixed with non-vegetarian food, naturally. That's kind of, it was another big aparat by itself. It can be mixed with ordinary vegetarian food in special circumstances to purify it. So
This
this is, yeah, go
this
on.
actually this actually, but there's something like in to this point actually. When I was reading the Prabhupada Leelamrita, like I'm
Yeah,
reading that. So in this connection, like I think when he went from New York to California, I'm reading that part where he's in California right now. So
okay.
in there, he mentions that, like, he's like anybody who comes to the temple, he starts initiating people. Anybody who comes, he starts initiating them. So I think some people are like, I think the writer, that is Supriya Das, was like mentioning that, that Prabhupada was initiating people. Anybody who showed even a little bit of interest in Krishna consciousness, he would initiate the person, which would be complete opposition to the God brothers and the devotees in India, who would not even who would, like, would scoff at the idea of that kind of initiation. Like, he would just do it very liberally. So anybody who came and said, "I need your shelter. I need. I'm a drug addict. I'm LSD. This
I'm
thing.
looking for
But
God.
I like Krishna. I like your thing." He would just say, "Yeah, you're initiated." So within 1 or 2 weeks, they would just become initiated. And so he's like, he was also in a dilemma. The dilemma was that one was that these people are not like adhering to the four regular principles, but at the same time, they want to chant Hare Krishna. So should they stop? Should he stop them from like doing that, or should he just continue? And then he'll just continue. He'll let them chant. He'll let them chant, get them initiated, and then a lot of people, as time went on, I think they've started adhering to the principles, and then some people didn't do it. But then he made compromise. He said, like, you can't get married if you want to sing, but if both of you are devotees, then you can get married, and then you can be a grahastha. So he kind of compromised a lot.
That's right. He was extremely flexible in that early stage of the movement, and generally he was flexible. He had his standards, and where someone was willing to understand what the high standards were, he would explain the logic. But if a party was not at all ready for it, he would automatically adjust. Like the famous story of Shyamasundar, the one who's written Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. He's still alive now. He was asked to carve Jagannath from wood pieces for the first Rath Yatra ever in Los Angeles. Now, remember, they've never seen Jagannath apart from getting a toy model which someone picked up in the Indian supermarket and so on. They don't know, the whole thing is new. So, Krishna still allowed these kind of people to pick up wood that is floating down the river, dry it in the sun, clean it up a little, and make fairly big Jagannaths. Maybe 4 feet, 4 feet, I don't know, but at least 2 feet high. Yeah. To for a public parade, what they called a parade. They weren't ready at that time to call it a Rath Yatra. Now, Prabhupada went to see how the Jagannath is coming. He saw a sight which Prabhupada, being Prabhupada, didn't flummox him. Basically, Shyam Sundar was smoking, and
Yeah.
you know, and he would leave the cigarette packet on top of the unformed Baladev and Subhadra or whatever. So I'm not sure what Prabhupada did. I think he went away quietly or later just said, tell him while he's doing that he shouldn't be smoking. Something like this. And similarly with Yamuna Devi, who he was initiated into cooking, she would say, can I go out and smoke? And he would say, all right, but every time you finish smoking, please wash your hands and mouth nicely and come back and help me cook for this prasadam. So he was very flexible. Now, don't forget, thousands of these people who got initiated by him. I don't know, I think the number was 5,000 or something in his time, Srila Prabhupada's time. Many of
All
them,
of them.
they just left the movement. They are unheard of. Many, as you said, gradually left, came back, decided to, out of their sheer attachment to Srila Prabhupada himself, or of what impact he made on them. Later, they pulled themselves together and came to some sort of standard and followed the four regulative principles, at least in its basic form. So it's true. Where charity is concerned, the catch is this. One, he's telling us why ideally we should give to the Brahmins, provided the Brahmins are really living as Brahmins, because a Brahmana is supposed to teach Shastra and be so fearless and so truthful. Why? Because he is not going to collect salary from the king or from anyone. The minute we are in a paid employment with somebody, we are scared to speak the truth to them because it may affect our income. Naturally, it applies to me, it applies to you. We're going to be careful. We can't really tell them the truth to their face if it is unpleasant. The Brahmana's position is he is supposed to cultivate a lifestyle where he really knows what is what in any situation because of his extreme shastric training. He can see through confusion. He can apply shastric principles and say what needs to be done and what needs to be avoided. And in order to have the freedom or the space, the moral and intellectual space to be able to give that advice to the king, he shouldn't be dependent on the king for money. So then, how does he live? How he shouldn't be dependent on the king in a paid arrangement with anyone. How is he supposed to live? He also has a family. He is not expected to be a sannyasi. So then it's obligatory on the other ashrams and varnas really, to keep giving donations, by as money, as gold, as food, as cows, as grains. So ideally, we should be giving money to the Brahmins, and if it is a choice between those who are leading a Brahmanical life, the Brahmin himself also gives in charity. If he has surplus, he is not supposed to become attached and hoard and hoard. He is supposed to depend completely that Krishna will provide when he needs it. So then he has to give to the poor in his village or wherever. So in the ideal sense, that system used to work very well. Not the corrupted version we see here today, where the Brahmins are always squeezing money out of, especially if it is priests in the temple, out of innocent followers, or if they're astrologers, scaring the life and hell out of people who go for consultation just to squeeze more money out of them. This is a very corrupted situation in Kali Yuga. So the Brahmins are supposed to be given. Why? Then other thing is the sannyasi. The sannyasi is also supposed to be given charity. And why is that? Because again, he is in the fully renounced order. He is going around awakening Krishna consciousness, as it says here. Householders are in deep sleep because they are generally secure, happy, comfortable. They have a family, they have an income. So the sannyasi traditionally would go in the olden days, and if someone said, "No, get out, I'm not giving anything," they would say, "At least give some ashes from your kitchen, fire hearth, hearth or whatever. It's like where the fire burns. Some ashes, just give some ashes." And he would take those ashes and go to get that householder used to the idea of just giving away something. This whole concept of giving away something is totally the opposite of the householder's mentality, which is to hoard more and more, to collect, to plan for his family's future, to plan for his children's children, then the children's children. You'll see people going on making plans. And it's a real issue now because all these well-intentioned parents and grandparents, now the grandchildren have all just migrated to Canada and America and Australia and Singapore. They are not interested in the inheritance. I have cousins of my age, and Baba's brother Uttam, they said his daughter will basically she's the only child. She is set to inherit 5 flats. She's not interested. And all the time the parents were kind of consolidating and paying monthly installment and then using this flat to buy another flat, and she is not in the least bit interested. She's married someone and settled in Canada. So the householder is always clinging on and hanging on and hoarding. But
This,
it is a yeah,
at this point, yeah, I think 2 days back I was listening to this lecture by Swami Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj,
yeah,
Swayam
yeah,
Bhagwan
yeah.
Keshav Maharaj. So I was listening to him. So there's this talk where I think it was 3 weeks back, and he said something that I think somebody asked him a question that is like, he was talking to a group of people in the Bhaktivedanta manner,
Yeah.
and these are people who are already like ISKCON devotees, and they're helping out with the mission. And so one of them asked a question that was, it was a Q&A session. So one of them asked a question like, um, sometimes we don't get the recognition, or sometimes, like, when we do all this, the seva and all that, the recognition is sometimes is not given. Like, like, so I think somebody had
Uh-huh.
mentioned that. So, I mean, they were discussing about why, you should, there's one side of it which says that you do all this seva without any recognition for
Expectation,
any
the expectation.
expectation for it there. But, of course, we're in the material world, so it's not possible and all that. to
So what is the
expect
reply?
always people. So then he mentions that when you're doing seva, or when you're doing, like, when you're going out and doing work for other people, the most important, like, what people don't realize is that this most people in this world think when we give something, we're actually losing something, like, in the process. But then when we give something,
He actually
then
gains.
we actually gain things. You only gain something when you give something away. So, the amount that you will be gaining by actually giving all this away is a lot, is so much. And so that is why it's important to keep giving things,
Yeah,
because you will get the benefit, you will get all these things that will come. So I think most people, I think what the point they were all making, they were looking at from their, I guess, their service point of view.
yeah,
But you can also think of it from a charity point of view, where, like, you're doing this, you have to give some service, or you have to give some charity or something. And they oftentimes people want some, like, a recognition from others, like, that
yeah, 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 yeah.
I
Yeah, sure.
gave this charity and I got this and that. But he was like, only when you give a lot up to people, like, where you actually get something back.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
very few people think in that way. That's what he was saying.
Yeah, it's actually, I guess, because we are not yet purified, we want that recognition.
Recognition,
And
yes.
but we don't realize it, just by the act of giving, we are getting so much pious credit, and we are developing the detachment which is required in our final real journey back. The detachment is so important, because the more we remain attached to all this, not only at the time when we have to let go in old age and in death, it is trauma for us. People who can't give up even one sari or one favorite food dish. Traditionally, elderly people having done all their grahastha duties, and then Manapras, husband and wife, would say Kashi Yatra, especially South India, go to Kashi. And there, the priest doing the puja would ask each one to select a favorite fruit and give it up. Make a vow that they're going to give it up, they never eat it again. So, for example, for someone it is a mango, for someone else it is a milk barfi or a uniapam or whatever. And just make a vow, because it's even such a simple thing is very hard to do. And the people are so dull of the intelligence, they lose the spiritual reason behind it, that it's a way of getting them ready for the final journey out of this body. They miss. What would they do? They, husband and wife, would coach each other. When the purohit asks you what is your favorite fruit or sweet dish, make sure that you reply and give the name of something that you don't like at all, so that then it is very easy to give it up, because they miss the whole spiritual point. They're so attached to everything until old age and bad teeth or indigestion. That's when we become so miserable, because we can't have the things we like to have. They're there, but we can't digest. Or doctor said don't eat, or the teeth hurt, and so on. So this business of giving up and giving away, it's very, very important. It's yeah, as you say, you get pious credit, you're going forward in that journey to finally give up. Srila Prabhupada, apparently, especially on his birthday celebrations, which are called Vyasa Puja, the day the spiritual master is born, is celebrated every year as the Vyasa Puja, because traditionally Vyasa is the original guru, the writer of the Bhagavatam and so on. And also because traditionally the spiritual master sits on a Vyasa asana. Any Bhagavatam speaker now, men and women, sit on what's called a Vyasa asana, kind of fancy wooden on in any temple. There's a special seat, but the spiritual master particularly, and it gets decorated, and he accepts all the worship. Now, Srila Prabhupada would get all kinds of I think maybe it will come up in the Leelamrita, that different Western disciples, early days, not knowing what they are supposed to give him, use their savings
Yeah.
to buy expensive watches. I think some 3 watches he got, but each one that he took, he would take the one accepted, he would take the one he was already wearing and give it away to some disciple standing nearby. Then someone gave him a ring with some jewel set in it. So he said, very nice. And I think I wore it for maybe a month or 2 3 weeks or something. I think Shruta Kirti, who used to do his massage for him like a servant, is still alive today. Shruta Kirti Prabhu, elderly now. I think Srila Prabhupada just took it one day and just gave it to him. So Srila Prabhupada was a very good example of someone who was not attached at all, and he understood the value and meaning of giving away and giving up things. Now, yeah, that is Shrutakirti with a slightly long face, glasses. That's him. Shrutakirti. Yeah. Shamala says, yeah, his wife dresses, a very young wife, but she dresses atrociously. I mean, I know there's a Russian. She was long time back a student 20 years ago.
Oh.
And there's a big age gap between them, but she kind of takes very good care of him. She dresses in this ghastly way. What to do? She takes very good care. He had a tremor, he had a stroke, and whatnot. But
Hmm. So
anyway,
he might. There must
yeah,
be a big age gap, no? Between
there's
him
a
and.
age gap of some 20 years. Like if he is 70, she must be 50, 55 now. His original wife, she died of cancer. And this
Oh.
is one of those ladies who always waited to marry and serve a disciple of Srila Prabhupada's. This particular young lady. Why she wears this ghastly makeup, nobody knows. We tried to tell her, but it's Russian. So Srila Prabhupada was a very good example of someone who kind of gave away. Here again, we have a problem. We first talked about the problem, the dilemma the devotees are put in because they don't know when you're giving us for charity, should we really be supporting or giving our money, and even if there is spare cash, our time and money to philanthropic charitable activities where food and medicine and bed and mattress and everything is being distributed to very poor people who naturally you can't just stand and watch when their homes have been destroyed. You can't just stand and watch. But the fact is, there are people who are fully on non-vegetarian diet and they are smoking BD and drinking, and either side by side with that, some other attempt has to be made to uplift their consciousness in some way. Otherwise, it is all finally useless from the Krishna conscious perspective. Let other people do it. Other people have a role to play. Let those organizations do it. But the specific what we are supposed to do, if they are not of intellectual ability to understand and hear, at least give them something through the mouth, like some piece of prasadam sometime in the future, which will go and something that has been offered first to a deity, which is will start purifying the consciousness. This is the whole idea, because there is great glorification of the power of prasadam. Mostly we don't understand it, we don't appreciate it. It's this both the power of the chanting the holy name and also the power of prasadam. So charity, if at all, when it is given, either it has to be given only to those who are of real brahmanas or to sannyasis. And if you're going to give it to really poor people who are in need, we have to bring a Krishna conscious aspect to it and not just be like ordinary mundane philanthropists and charity workers. Now here again, when they're talking about sannyasis, who it is a business to go house to household and wake them up. The sannyas ashram is a very difficult ashram in Kali Yuga. In fact, I think Lord Chaitanya in some place in the Chaitanya Charitamrita even says people in Kali Yuga should not take sannyas because it is very difficult to maintain it. The attractions are so many, and attractions doesn't mean necessarily the opposite sex and women. Lure of money, the power, the prestige, the adoration and service they give. So once again, it is a tough time for ISKCON right now because many disclosures. I'm not going to name and not so well known the particular sannyasi in question because he is in remote parts. He's a kirtaniya. Now, story goes that when he was a grihastha, many of these people there had grihastha years. He was an exemplary grihastha, really followed the four regulative principles. This particular sannyasi, the story goes, chanted all his rounds, did his fasting, connection with his wife only in according to rules and so on. But the minute he went and entered the sannyas ashram, he should be about 70 now. Problem is, he's in such a remote part of the world, mostly in Kazakhstan, Almaty. Nobody knows what's going on there. So he has this fancy house, a spa, a sauna, and gradually he gets used to all the luxury that the disciples, basically disciples in those parts, are highly emotional and they think it is their job to keep providing. They don't have a questioning intelligence. So it's now building up. The disclosures are coming out, and I think some action will be taken against him. So then he starts getting used to this lifestyle. Someone buys him a fancy apartment in Vrindavan, he has that. He doesn't like the look of the toilet. He spends some 3,000 or whatever US dollars or more renovating the bathroom because it is not up to the Western standards of bathroom comfort or whatever. He then has properties in London and also in Mayapur. He got, when he passes through Delhi, he is put up in Oberoi. So who pays the bills? Basically, it is the other people, because the sannyas is supposed to have. Then the allegations now that he started a community, collected money and started a community, some remote part of Kazakhstan. He had not taken proper permission, so the government moved in and bulldozed all the houses. So those people living there, the ISKCON members, devotees, fled and stayed somewhere else. So this gave him an opportunity. It so happened to recollect, like raise more funding, crowd funding or whatever it's called, and he's getting access to that money. So see, he's completely lost now. And those who are complaining about him, including some of his disciples, including those who were his personal servants, said he needs help. We hope he gets the help he needs. He was an exemplary grihastha. The sannyas ashram is not for him. And he's 70 now. He's been a sannyasi for at least 50 years. 20 years or 15 years. He's completely lost in this ashram. So it is a very tricky business. People who actually did very well in the Grihastha ashram, striking a balance, they get into the sannyas and just look at the results they have.
What is his name?
Um, if you're going to record, okay, BB
Ah,
Govind.
okay.
It's okay,
Okay, I
BB
thought.
Govind. It's known now. It's flashed all over the Facebook. BB Govind Swami. It's a Kirtanya. BB Govind. This is it. So it's we don't know whether the organization, people complain to the sannyas ministry, people, and I've only given an edited version of the facts, but to you
Okay.
now, I didn't get into all the details. But this is a classic case of someone who did very well as a grihastha. Then because we are talking about the sannyasi here in this purport, that we needn't think things are easy for them. Things are not easy for them at all. And those who are now lodging complaints about him and bringing it to the attention of people, because he's a part of it is also this creative artistic mentality and kirtan and music. He was a musician, an American. His father was a leading musician in America.
Hmm.
So this creative people need some what is it called, artistic license. You can't fix strict rules on them, their mind doesn't work like that. They need little more space to create tunes and bhajans, and the creative talent also brings him very much in touch with sources of maya or attraction or whatever they are called, luxury, female specimens. Okay, so this is the position with the sannyasi. This knowledge and method is distributed to the sannyasis, and charity is to be given to the renouncer of life, to the brahmanas. And similar good causes, not to any whimsical. Here, this is the clue, not to any whimsical cause. But here again, you will see in places like Vrindavan, ISKCON has launched, at least some sections of ISKCON have launched eye camps, eye treatment camps, and you would see that happening even in other temples now. We say free eye camp, free diabetic camp, free. So people flock. People who don't want to pay that 100 or 200 or 500 rupees to get an actual diabetic checkup, and then you pay or get regular qualified doctors to come and sit and do the camp. And in the process, people get the temples get access. It is a type of preaching program in one sense. you know you give them free prasadam, you show them books, distribute books, teach them how to chant while they're waiting in the camp. So as preaching programs, this kind of mundane philanthropic charitable activities are going on a large scale in ISKCON today, and they are also very controversial. They're controversial because a whole section feels we are not supposed to be getting into this kind of mundane charity at all. The people who are doing it, those swamis and leaders whose followers have been told to do it, their explanation is that preaching is becoming more and more challenging as Kali Yuga advances, and we have to find new methods. So this is what we are doing. Started with free eye camps in Barsana, which is the birthplace of Radharani. Barsana is really Vrindavan. And then now it is spread to medical camps. It happens even here in Trivandrum. I don't know about Mayapur. Because it's attraction for people. You just advertise this weekend, such and such doctor may not be any very great doctor, but definitely a qualified medical guy. Someone who's favorable to ISKCON, or someone, ISKCON devotees themselves who are doctors, who will come and say, okay, I will sit from morning to evening, and then we will bring the equipment and check. It's a big attraction for a lot of people, because they can save some money, and then in the process there is kirtan in the temple. They're told, please go into the temple, take darshan and go. When they go, they see vibrant kirtan going on. As they come out, someone gives them a laddu or halwa, or maybe even a full plate of something, rice and curry. Someone else tells them, Kali Yuga is very tough, this is the only mantra which is easy, the Maha Mantra. So people do come to the movement through this. People do get awakened from their regular household rut life. So mundane charitable philanthropy is being carried on in today's ISKCON, though it may seem contravention to everything that's written here, that we should only give to brahmanas and to sannyasis, and not for whimsical causes. It's very hard, really, as in these times, to really understand what is going on and what is really the final picture. There's so much criticism of this kind of eye camp and medical camp, but now ISKCON is full swing into it. A lot of people will say the old ISKCON is not how this should be, and Prabhupada would never have approved. We just do straight preaching, and we don't get into all this material, mundane, philanthropical stuff. That is for other organizations. Then what is the difference between us and them? But it's happening. It's happening because people are finding it is bringing in a lot of people. Because the criticism is, if you bring in people through this mundane philanthropy, that means from the outset itself, they don't really understand the difference between spiritual and material. It's as it is, they're completely drowning in material priorities and material activities. So later to preach very harshly. Now, for example, I know in Bombay, this is even 10 years ago maybe, ladies who were devotees were asked to gather their lady friends and followers, people living in the flats or nearby houses, like you have a kitty party and a club and everything. Get them to come to say that ISKCON preacher would come and teach the Devi Mahatmaya. But there is no history in ISKCON of any teaching of Devi Mahatmaya going on. The argument we were given is these ladies will come only if it is Devi. They will not come if you say we are going to teach Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, or even Narayaniyam as in Kerala. All Krishna worship stuff. So Devi Mahatmayam, and through the Devi Mahatmayam, the preacher says that he will gradually get them to understand that the role of Devi or Durga or Maya Devi, that is under the order of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, is to keep us all in this prison. Yeah, we pray to her because if she is pleased, she gives everything we need for a successful family life. Everything goes smoothly for our children. We have sufficient wealth, happiness, and so on. But that is just going to keep us more and more in this prison. Whereas praying to Lord Vishnu and Krishna means we can get out of this prison once and for all. Now, the counter criticism to all this is, if you straight away spend 7 weeks or 8 weeks teaching them the Devi Mahatmaya, why should they suddenly listen? How are they going to accept this logic that this is all useless, or we are wasting our time worshipping Devi because it is her job? Most probably it will make a very slight impact only. So this is a criticism against this type of preaching, taking the mundane line.
Won't be good.
Yeah, why will they come to bhakti? Even when they come to bhakti, they will come fully with this karma kanda idea of you pray and you ask for something in return. You develop bhakti and you ask for something in return. How? Because this kind of bad start for them means that it's going to be very difficult to uplift them. We keep them more in their confused understanding. At the same time, it is true in India. If you straight away start cracking the whip and say Devi and Durga, and there are preachers who speak like this. I know those say it in a witty way, and they say it shows a lack of chastity on the part of the worshipper. Monday they go to Lord Shiva, Tuesday they go to Hanuman, Wednesday I don't know who they go to, Thursday they go to Vishnu, Friday they go to maybe Devi, Saturday they go to Shani Bhagavan to appease, and then Sunday God knows what. So this shows a lack of chastity. It is like an immoral person who goes to a different lover every day. Where is the loyalty? So that is a powerful point. It appealed to some people. A lot of here first time listeners get upset and go away and say we don't want to have anything to do with ISKCON. It's only Krishna all the time. So the other people say you better start with where they are and talk about all this Devi Mahatmya. But teaching whole classes, whole weeks, getting them to come, and often it's been their experience that then they say, okay, now we are going to teach study Bhagavad Gita, because this Devi is just one element in the Lord's plans, and her job is this. Nobody will come for Bhagavad Gita. They got their Devi Mahatmya and they will go away. So this risk is also there. And it's really hard in today's age. I mean, there are hardliners in our movement who say this kind of preaching is nonsense. There are others who say this is the only type of preaching that is working now. So it's very difficult to know what is what. But always it is best to, even if the results are a little limited, to stick to a straightforward way of explaining things. But there again, the dilemma is, should the movement just keep growing exponentially sideways, or should we take the people we have and help them develop more? Quality versus quantity, you know. Both are important, but some good, strong leaders should say, okay, we have what, 500 centers. Now let's concentrate on making programs for people to develop those people who are there so that they don't go away. And I've attended seminars in Mayapur where a speaker was saying openly, a preacher, that we think we are doing great work because we held this program, and so let's say 100 new people came. What we don't see, through the back door another 50 of the older people are going away because they're not getting the help and attention they should get to develop. They came to the spiritual track expecting that they're going to get guidance to keep progressing. They find that the movement, once they brought them in, there is no systematic, they have to basically fend for themselves, and they run into issues and all, there's no help coming. So that aspect is very much there. But at the same time, the people who say no, we have to keep on spreading and starting new centers, it's happening here in Kerala. There is the Trivandrum center, now there is Varkala, then there is Kalkutam, then there is Palichal, then there is Saikyad, and there are people who say, God, you can't even manage one center properly because it's so tough, and why are you going to other places? At the same time, they say that Kali Yuga is advancing so fast. Maya or Kali is going on updating her treacherous programs. So more and more people are falling into suicide spirals, um, drinks and pub and drugs and illicit sex, and so we can't wait. We just need to throw the net wider and wider. People, this is their logic. That at least people get a chance to hear there is another way out. Then, if they don't take it, what can be done? That you don't necessarily have to go and kill yourself. You don't have to necessarily drown your sorrows in drink and then become an addict or drugs. There is an information that can shine some light on all your darkness. So open a center. Somebody will come to check in. What the hell is this? This is something new. You sell a Bhagavad Gita, ask him to come for a class. That argument is also very strong. It really is true that Maya Devi or the agents of Kali are updating their apps and programs daily. Pornography is such a big thing even for young children. Sexual abuse of children. So where are we heading? It is like really the educational system never put any moral conscience into these people. Schoolgirls are willing just for some extra money to buy Revlon lipstick and I don't know, some perfumes. They're willing to act like call girls. They are barely 14, 15, good schools, good families. The big Kerala, drug is a big issue because parents are not available for the children. The mother is working, the father is working, and the child comes and goes, and then someone just lures them into drugs. So it is also a fact that we need to spread the net, or net meaning of disseminate this knowledge and information to as many people as possible, so that someone somewhere will catch hold of it and save themselves. Okay, so this is charity. Now it's just past 6 o'clock, so let's stop today. And I hope you get better soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll
Just
try
stop
and
recording.
yeah, stop the recording.